Once in a blue moon, the ancient playwrights unite. Today we have Euripides and Sophocles, who will see into the future and discuss my person, Alexander the Great.
Don't get any ideas, Euripides. We are not real. We are ghosts. We've come back. It's 2015. But we're going to talk about Alexander.
Okay, Sophocles. I follow you.
Well, that's what you always have done. You followed me. Don't forget, I won the first Dionysian festival when I was 28 years old. It took you till you were 40. Nevertheless, you caught up with me. There were things that I really envy about you. You created a lot of stories better than me, but I achieved the ultimate harmony. So said Nietzsche in the 19th century, 2,000-something years after I wrote. Nevertheless, I was just wondering, which of us would have been better to write the story of Alexander?
You're absolutely right. But I think I would have done a better job of it than you, Sophocles.
Well, it's possible, because his story was, my specialty was arranging for economy of words between my characters. Your specialty became having them speak out their entire thoughts, allowing the chorus to do just what they wanted. And Alexander was really a quintessential ancient Greek tragedy, our tragedy, because he was very big, he achieved the biggest honors ever, and then because of his hubris and his hamartia and his mortal sins, his vanity, his extreme egomaniac decisions, he was probably murdered. We know he was murdered. At least he died. And what happened after he died? The entire Greek civilization was destroyed. After him, the deluge. After him, nothing. So he was somebody that you or I should have written about, possibly both of us.
He was an extraordinary guy, for sure. But, you know, he died so young. His life was so short, but so full, so condensed.
It's true. Well, it doesn't take long to achieve what you want to achieve. He achieved more than any other general in the history of the world, even more than Napoleon, who came so much later, even more than Genghis Khan, even more than all the other generals combined. He did it all, and he conquered the known world, something that nobody has been able to do. Everybody who tried to conquer the entire known world, even the British, at one point failed. He conquered all the civilized parts of his time. This is something that was worth being written about. And he wanted it written, you know. He was always complaining that Homer wasn't alive to write his story. Well, I have news for him. Homer would have not been a good person to write his story. Homer did not write drama. He wrote stories that you tell around a campfire, where you just recite them. They're nice, poetic, and they give you all the little details, but they don't dramatize. They don't make the characters come alive, as you did even better than me. Though as I said, my specialty was this harmony between the spiritual and the mundane.
What made him the way he was? He was so full of ambition. He was like a fire that burned too quickly and too fast, and he was extinguished at the end.
That's what makes it such a perfect tragedy. That's what makes it so full of meaning. And really, it required at least you, if not me, to dramatize. Unfortunately for Alexander, we were both quite dead by the time he lived. And it would have taken at least another 100 years after his life for us to understand what happened, the ramifications of his actions. Don't forget, everything we wrote had happened 300-400 years before us. We had to wait for the meaning to society of those characters, the Electras and the Clytemnestras and the Agamemnons. But with Alexander, we should have lived around 100 before Christ, so we could have really understood his story and written it out.
I don't agree with you. I think with his extreme ambition, he would have done things to destroy what he has built. He was overambitious.
Alexander grew up as a country boy, riding horses, working with running around the fields, being wild, being impossible to manage, and how he was able to achieve all that intelligence. I know Aristotle went to him, but Aristotle did not really teach him war. He taught him ethics. He taught him understanding. He taught him the laws. He taught him to respect the enemy. He taught him to respect thinking.
The brilliant tactician, in other words.
Yes, I think I agree with that. I think you're right. It's not often I admit you're right, but I think you're right there. Just like Mozart, he lived just long enough.
Yes, more or less the same age.
Yes. And Jesus Christ, they all did enough. If they'd done any more, there wouldn't be enough books to fill their stories. And usually those stories end up badly. It's wonderful when you're that heroic to just at one point die.
Yes.
Die and allow the rest of society to live. You know.
So the history is full of the stories of heroic young men who burned with ambition and established things that mortal people cannot establish in their entire lifetime.
If they had lived longer, you're absolutely right. Yes, some people are like that. They do things quickly and they affect life forever. So we should now do our favorite thing. We should go to the palestra and watch the young man wrestle while we have a lovely meal and wait for our wives to come and force us to go home.
Yes,
That's what they always do.
I agree with you, Sophocles. Okay, let's have some wine as well.
It's been a most wonderful day in the amphitheater. And with that, I would commend Euripides and Sophocles for bridging time and space and joining me here this one last time. And with that said, I offer you the last of the Delphic Maxims.